The best way to control your mind is to learn how not to broadcast every move. See, the world has become a noisy place. Everyone's talking, posting, reacting. But power, real power, it's quiet. It doesn't seek applause. It seeks results. Move in silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're focused. You don't plant seeds by shouting at the soil. You water, you wait, you protect, and then one day it blooms. Control of the mind doesn't come from force. It comes from discipline. It comes from refusing to be a puppet of emotion. It comes from recognizing when to speak, and more importantly, when not to. You see, every time you explain your plan, you invite opinion. And opinions, if you're not careful, will outnumber your own thoughts. They'll confuse you. They'll pull you in 10 directions, and before long, you forget what you were building in the first place. The sharpest minds don't make noise. They make moves, they prepare, they sharpen the blade long before the battle, and when it's time to act, they strike. With precision, no chaos, no hesitation, just clarity, just power in motion. You can't control the world, but you can control your habits. You can control what you allow in, and that shapes what you put out. So when doubt shows up at your door, stay calm. When fear whispers in your ear, don't answer, just keep working. Quietly, steadily, silently, and when the results show up, let them do the talking. Control of the mind begins with silence and focus, not noise and attention seeking. When you fill your space with distractions, chatter, and external validation, you lose grip on what truly matters. Your thoughts, your clarity, your purpose. In a world where everyone is in a rush to speak, the wise choose to listen. In a culture obsessed with showcasing every moment, the disciplined choose to protect their energy. Silence is not weakness. It's strength under control. It's knowing when to speak and when to conserve. It's choosing inner peace over outside praise. Because when your mind is noisy, when you're constantly chasing approval or recognition, you hand over your power. And once you do that, you're no longer in control. You're reacting, not responding. You're scattered, not steady. Focus thrives in silence. It grows in the quiet hours when nobody's watching. That's where the real battles are fought, not on stages, not in front of cameras, but in those unseen moments when you choose discipline over comfort. When you push through doubt, fatigue, and resistance, not for applause, but for progress, that's when you learn who you are. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. You don't see the roots growing under the soil, but they are the reason the tree stands tall. You don't hear the sculptor's every strike, but the masterpiece speaks for itself when it's revealed. In the same way, your development doesn't need to be broadcast. It needs to be protected, nurtured, and refined in silence. You gain control of your mind when you stop reacting to everything outside of you. When you stop explaining, defending, and justifying every decision. When you start investing your energy into building, not boasting. And the truth is, people may not notice your process, and that's okay. They're not supposed to, because it's not for them. It's for you. Strike when you're ready, not when you're rushed, not because others expect it, but because you've done the work quietly and now the moment has come. Precision isn't born in the spotlight. It's trained in the shadows. Controlled minds don't act out of impulse. They act out of intent. And that intent is sharpened through stillness, not noise. So while the world talks, you build. While the world seeks attention, you seek mastery. While others rush to be seen, you train to be effective. And when your moment arrives, you won't need to explain a thing. Your presence will say it all. Real power doesn't announce itself. It reveals itself through results. It doesn't need a microphone, a stage, or a spotlight. It doesn't chase applause or recognition. It simply performs. It shows up when it matters most, and it delivers. You don't hear it coming, but you feel it when it arrives. The ones with real power are often the quietest in the room, not because they have nothing to say, but because they are too busy doing. While others are caught up in display, they are caught up in discipline. They're not waiting to be seen. They're preparing to be ready. When the opportunity comes, they won't have to explain themselves. The results will speak clearly. People often confuse visibility with strength. They believe the loudest must be the most confident, but confidence doesn't need to shout. It doesn't need constant validation. It's built in silence. It's built in solitude. Because real confidence is the result of showing up every day, doing the work when no one is clapping, pushing through when no one is watching. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. When the lights are off, when the cameras are gone, when there's no audience, that's when it happens. That's when the muscles are built, when the skills are sharpened, when the mind is fortified. It's in those unseen hours that your future is formed. Most people want the stage without the sacrifice. They want the crown without the grind. But those who understand the process know the process is the reward. You earn power by paying the price for it in silence. By choosing practice over praise. By choosing progress over popularity. A powerful person doesn't need to prove anything. They don't need to argue or announce or convince. They just do. And in time, the results prove everything. The success speaks. The growth becomes visible, not because it was advertised, but because it was real. And when the world finally notices, they'll call it sudden. They'll say it came out of nowhere. But you'll know. You'll remember the hours in the dark, the early mornings, the late nights. You'll remember the effort no one saw, the sacrifices no one clapped for, the discipline no one understood. That's what makes power real. Not the noise, not the spotlight, not the attention, but the quiet, consistent work that leads to undeniable results, the kind of work that leaves no room for doubt, because when it's real, it doesn't need to be announced. It only needs to be done. Silence is a form of protection for your vision and mental clarity. When you choose silence, you're not withholding for fear. You're preserving your energy, your focus, your mission. You're not letting every voice in, because not every voice is meant to influence you. There's power in not sharing everything. There's strength in keeping your goals, your process, and your thoughts guarded until they're strong enough to stand on their own. We live in a world that constantly encourages us to share, post, and prove. But when you expose your vision too early, you invite opinions that were never meant to be part of your journey. You start adjusting your path based on what others think, rather than what you know to be true inside. And slowly, without even realizing it, your clarity fades. Your vision gets blurry. Your purpose begins to dilute. That's why silence matters. It gives your ideas time to grow roots. It lets your mind think freely, without interruption, without judgment. It creates a space where you can focus, where you can work deeply, where you can build something solid, without the noise of outside expectation. Silence is not emptiness. It's full of discipline. It's full of structure. It's a quiet room where real decisions are made, where real growth happens. It is the soil beneath the surface, nourishing, supporting, unseen. Because just like a tree doesn't grow by shouting into the sky, your potential doesn't flourish by being constantly exposed. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. The habits you build in silence are the ones that hold you steady when the pressure is high. The routines you craft when no one's watching are the ones that carry you through the storms. The mindset you develop in solitude is the one that protects you from doubt, fear, and distraction. Some of the greatest achievements began in quiet rooms, ideas scribbled on paper, rehearsals behind mirrors, practices repeated in basements and garages. No cameras, no likes, no noise, just effort, just repetition, just faith in something bigger that hadn't yet been seen. Your silence is your shield. It keeps your direction clear and your intentions pure. It reminds you that you don't need validation to keep going. You just need purpose. You don't need applause to stay committed. You need vision, so guard your silence, not because you're hiding, but because you're protecting something sacred. Your growth, your focus, your path forward. Discipline and emotional restraint are the foundations of mental control. Without discipline, your mind becomes a storm, restless, scattered, and vulnerable to every passing impulse. Without restraint, emotions can steer you off course, making you react instead of respond, speak instead of reflect, quit instead of endure. True mental control doesn't mean you suppress your emotions. It means you master them. It means you feel them fully, but you don't let them dictate your actions. Discipline is the quiet force that keeps you steady when everything around you is uncertain. It's the structure that turns your intentions into actions, your plans into habits, and your habits into results. It's not about being perfect, it's about being consistent. You show up when you don't feel like it. You stick to your path when distraction calls your name. You stay calm when the world around you gets loud. That's control. Emotional restraint doesn't mean you feel less. It means you understand what's worth reacting to and what isn't. It gives you space between the stimulus and your response. That space is where strength lives. That space is where power grows. Because when you can control yourself, you become unshakable. In moments of pressure, the undisciplined mind shatters. It panics. It complains. It looks for someone to blame. But the disciplined mind, it focuses. It adapts. It acts with intention, not impulse. It keeps the goal in sight, regardless of how it feels in the moment. Mental control is not about removing emotion. It's about knowing when to use it. A strong mind doesn't ignore pain, fear, or anger. It sees them clearly, but doesn't let them take the wheel. It doesn't let temporary emotions destroy permanent progress. And here's the truth. Discipline isn't built in the spotlight. It's forged in those early mornings when no one's up. It's shaped in those quiet nights when you choose work over excuses, progress over comfort. It's in the routines no one sees, in the sacrifices no one praises, in the choices you make when no one's watching. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. You develop your mental control in silence. You test it in chaos. And the more you train yourself to stay steady, the more powerful you become, not just on the outside, but within. Because once you can lead yourself with discipline and manage your emotions with restraint, there's not much the world can throw at you that you can't handle. That's what it means to be in control, not of everything, but of yourself. Sharing plans prematurely invites distraction, confusion, and outside influence. Not every idea needs to be voiced before it's ready. Not every dream should be exposed while it's still forming. When you speak too soon, you open the door to voices that don't understand your vision, your process, or your intention. And once those voices enter, they start to shape your direction, even if subtly. You begin to question, to doubt, to rework things that didn't need fixing. The clarity that was once yours begins to blur. An idea, like a seed, needs time beneath the surface. It needs protection. It needs nurturing. It needs stillness to grow roots before it faces the wind. Sharing it too early is like pulling it from the ground before it's ready to sprout. You expose it to criticism it's not strong enough to withstand. You allow distractions to steal your attention from execution. People may mean well, but their opinions are filtered through their fears, their limits, their beliefs. And once you invite those into your mental space, you have to work twice as hard to filter out what's helpful and what's harmful. That energy could have been used to build, to refine, to progress, but instead, it's spent managing perception and explanation. When your focus is divided between creation and validation, your power weakens. You move slower, unsure of whether you're building for yourself or for the approval of others. And that's when you start adjusting your path for applause instead of purpose. You trade momentum for feedback. You trade growth for commentary, but your vision deserves more than that. It deserves commitment, not commentary. It deserves attention, not exposure. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. There's a sacred power in working silently, in letting your process be yours, in moving forward without the noise of outside approval or judgment. Your plans become stronger when they're protected. Your direction becomes clearer when you keep it between you and your discipline. Once it's built, once it's grounded, once it's real, then let the world see, then let the results speak, because at that point, there's no explaining to do. There's no convincing necessary. The work speaks for itself. So don't rush to share. Don't seek comfort in being understood. Seek strength in staying committed. Let your silence be your strategy. Let your action be your message. And when it's time, when the foundation is strong, the structure is sound, step into the light with something unshakable. Something that no opinion could have built or broken. Something that was born in silence and shaped by focus. True preparation happens privately. Success is built before it's seen. What the world applauds is only the final product. They see the performance, not the practice. They see the moment of triumph, not the countless hours of struggle, failure, and repetition that led to it. But make no mistake, the real foundation of success is always laid in private. Before there is recognition, there is discipline. Before there is mastery, there is effort, quiet and unseen. You don't prepare by talking. You prepare by doing, in silence, away from distractions, away from the eyes of those who don't understand what you're building. It's in those moments, when no one's watching, when there are no cheers, no compliments, that you either choose to push forward or give up. And that choice, repeated day after day, is what builds strength. It's what sharpens your edge. People think success is born on stage, but by the time you're on stage, it's already been decided. You've either done the work or you haven't. The outcome is just a reflection of the preparation. And that preparation happens when the cameras are off, when the world is asleep, when you're grinding through self, doubt and fatigue because you believe in something that isn't visible yet. You build confidence in the dark. You earn the right to walk with quiet certainty because you've done the work. You've shown up when it was hard. You've endured when it was tempting to quit. That's what separates the prepared from the unprepared. Not talent, not charm, but what they chose to do when no one else was around to give them credit. True preparation isn't pretty, it's messy, it's repetitive, it's filled with mistakes, adjustments, trial and error. But it's also where transformation happens. It's where you shape the version of yourself that's capable of withstanding pressure, navigating adversity, and seizing opportunity when it comes. And when the time comes, when the opportunity arrives, you don't panic. You don't scramble. You don't hope. You execute, because you've rehearsed the moment in your mind 1,000 times. You've trained your body and your thoughts to meet the challenge with calm, with focus, with control. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. You might not get applause while you're preparing. You might not get noticed, but that's not the goal. The goal is to be ready. Ready for the moment when silence turns to spotlight, and what you built in the dark becomes undeniable in the light. Precision in execution comes from focus, not from public validation. You don't sharpen your aim by asking for applause. You sharpen it by tuning everything else out and locking in on the task. Focus is a discipline. It's the ability to say no to everything that isn't the mission. It's the silence you choose when the noise of attention becomes too loud to think. It's the clarity you maintain when the world offers distractions dressed as praise. Public validation is tempting. It makes you feel seen, makes you feel supported, but it can also make you dependent. If your motivation starts relying on recognition, your execution will suffer every time the applause fades, because not every step will be visible. Not every season will bring celebration, and if you can't move forward without being seen, you'll never reach the level where precision lives. Precision requires full presence. It demands you be in the moment, engaged, attentive, deliberate. You don't develop that in the spotlight. You develop that in practice, in repetition, in failure. It's built when you study your craft without the pressure to perform. It's earned in those hours where the only voice you hear is your own, reminding you of why you started. When your mind is focused, you're not thinking about who's watching. You're not thinking about how it looks. You're only thinking about how to get it right. You adjust, you refine, you strip away the excess until only what matters remains. That's how precision is formed, not through noise, but through mastery. Validation is external, focus is internal, and the more you rely on one, the more the other slips away. But when your compass is your own standard, your own purpose, your own direction, then you're free. Free to move with clarity, free to work without hesitation, free to execute without distraction. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. That's where precision is born. In the quiet hours where no one's watching, when there's no applause, no feedback, just you and the process, that's where your skills are shaped. That's where your mind is sharpened. And when it's time to act, when the pressure is real and the moment is big, you won't need to perform for anyone. You'll simply do what you've already done 1,000 times in silence. You won't need validation because you'll have preparation. And preparation will always be louder than praise. You can't control external chaos, but you can control your reactions and input. The world will always be unpredictable. Things will go wrong. Plans will fall apart. People will misunderstand you, question you, test your patience and your purpose. There will be noise, confusion, and distraction around every corner. But your power lies not in changing the outside world. It lies in mastering your inner world, because your response is always yours. Your focus is always yours, and what you choose to consume, think, and believe, that's yours too. When the world shakes, your reaction determines your direction. You can either panic or you can pause. You can either complain or you can adjust. The most powerful people don't have perfect conditions. They have trained minds. They've learned how to remain calm in chaos, how to make clear decisions when everything feels uncertain, how to protect their peace when the noise outside gets loud. Your input shapes your mindset. What you feed your mind, what you allow into your space, these are not small things. They're the foundation of your mental state. If you fill your time with negativity, distractions, and opinions that don't align with your purpose, you begin to lose grip on your own voice. You become reactive instead of intentional. You move based on emotion instead of direction, and that's when chaos wins. But when you guard your input, when you choose discipline over distraction, silence over noise, clarity over confusion, your inner world becomes stronger than the outer one. You build a shield that keeps you steady, even when things around you are unstable. That doesn't mean you don't feel pressure. It means you don't get controlled by it. This kind of mental control doesn't happen by accident. It's trained, it's earned through choices no one sees. You learn to manage your reactions by sitting with discomfort instead of running from it. You train your attention by focusing when it's hard, by staying present when your mind wants to escape. You filter your input by being selective with your time, your energy, and the information you allow into your space. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. This is where you practice how to respond with strength, how to think with clarity, how to act with purpose. Not in public, not for applause, but for yourself. Because once you can stay grounded when the world feels unsteady, once you can keep your direction while everything around you shifts, you become something very rare. Someone who is not just moved by life, but someone who knows how to move through it with intention, focus, and quiet power. Move with intention, respond to fear and doubt with quiet persistence. You don't overcome uncertainty by shouting over it. You overcome it by staying calm, by choosing to act with purpose even when your mind is full of questions. Fear and doubt are natural. They visit anyone trying to do something meaningful, but they are not signals to stop. They are reminders that you are on the edge of growth. And growth doesn't come from noise or panic. It comes from steady, silent movement in the right direction. When you move with intention, you stop looking for shortcuts. You stop comparing your pace to others. You begin to understand that every small step matters when it's taken with purpose. You learn to focus not on how fast you're going, but on how aligned you are with where you're going. That kind of movement is slow, it's deliberate, and it doesn't need to be seen to be powerful. Quiet persistence is strength under control. It's doing the work without needing validation. It's showing up even when the path ahead feels unclear. It's pushing forward not because you feel like it, but because you've decided to. No big declarations, no dramatic displays, just action. Calm, focused, and grounded in the belief that staying consistent will take you further than any burst of emotion ever could. The world may expect you to react, to explain yourself, to defend your progress. But when you move with quiet persistence, you don't waste energy proving your worth. You conserve that energy and use it to build, to improve, to stay aligned with your mission. And as you do, something powerful begins to shift. The fear doesn't disappear, but it loses its power. The doubt doesn't vanish, but it gets drowned out by the rhythm of your consistent effort. You don't win by being louder than your fear. You win by outlasting it, by showing up one more time, one more day, by trusting that every small, focused action adds up, even when no one sees it, especially when no one sees it. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. This is where you develop the discipline to keep moving even when you're uncertain. This is where your quiet persistence is born, in the silence, in the struggle, in the decisions that no one will ever clap for. But those moments are the foundation. They're what make your actions meaningful when the spotlight finally does arrive. Because when it does, you won't have to pretend to be ready. You'll already be prepared. Not from noise, not from fear, but from the quiet persistence you chose when no one else was watching. Let your outcomes speak louder than your words. Results don't need explanations. You don't have to convince anyone of your worth when your actions prove it. You don't have to argue your vision when your work makes it undeniable. Words can be challenged, opinions can be ignored, but real results, they are solid. They stand on their own. They demand attention, not because they are loud, but because they are undeniable. In a world where many speak and few deliver, the ones who execute consistently are rare. The ones who stay quiet while building and let their success do the talking, those are the people others eventually stop to watch. Not because they sought the spotlight, but because their work earned it. They didn't post every step. They didn't beg for support. They built in silence, and now their results speak volumes. When you chase validation before execution, you lose focus. You start tailoring your path for applause, not for purpose. But when you stay committed to the work, when you pour your energy into action instead of explanation, something shifts. You build real momentum. You make progress that doesn't require interpretation. You stop talking about what you're going to do and just do it. Letting your outcomes speak means trusting the process. It means having the patience to keep going without needing constant reassurance. It means believing that, in time, what you're building will be too strong to ignore. It's not about arrogance. It's about confidence. The kind that comes from discipline, not display. The kind that grows when you keep promises to yourself, not when you announce them to the world. Your results are your proof. They are the evidence of all the work that was done when no one was watching. They are the quiet response to every doubt, every criticism, every moment of resistance you faced alone. And they don't need a caption, they don't need to be defended. They speak with clarity, with finality, with truth. The real work is done in private. Growth happens behind closed doors, not on display. Your early mornings, your quiet nights, your internal battles, those are the bricks. That is the foundation. And when it's strong enough, when you've been consistent enough, the structure will stand on its own. People won't need you to explain how it got there. They'll see it, they'll feel it, and they'll understand that what they're witnessing didn't appear overnight. It was built, layer by layer, in silence. So speak less, do more, and let your outcomes echo the truth far louder than your words ever could. So stay silent when others shout. Stay focused when others drift. Stay committed when no one is watching. Because the real strength isn't in how loudly you speak, it's in how powerfully you move. Build quietly, move with purpose, and when your moment arrives, let the results speak for you. Not because you sought recognition, but because you earned it in silence. That's where the real work lives. That's where greatness begins.